worry, I'm not going to preach about Kodo to Kaza this week, okay? Got a little feedback from that. Naaman, or however we want to say his name today, has a very interesting story. We think that he's maybe just somebody out there who approaches Elisha and asks for him to help in his healing. But he's a special man. He's kind of a high-ranking person in the Assyrian group. He was the high-ranking officer in the Assyrian army. And oftentimes when we're a high-ranking person, what we try to do is we try to exhaust every other resource to heal our ill, whatever it is, before we cry out to the Lord. And I imagine that Naaman went to all of his particular religious healers of the time to ask for help in this, that he went and plunged in his own rivers to help cleanse him from this leprosy. He was seeking all of these things, but for some reason he could not be freed from this disease that he had. And so in his humility, he had to seek help from another. And he first hears of someone who could possibly help him from a young Jewish slave girl. And we would think that the king of the army, right, the master, the general of the army, would never listen to some young slave girl that his army captured in battle. But he humbles himself and he hears in her an open door for help, and he responds to that. And so we see him, Naaman, go, and he has to go to Israel, which is this small little group of people that he was already probably planning on conquering very soon, to go and ask for this permission to see this Elisha the prophet. And so he goes and he's told no by the king of Israel at the time. But then he continues, he persists in his asking, and Elisha then sends one of his messengers, and this is what the messenger tells him to do, is what we hear in our first reading today. Go down to the Jordan and cleanse, wash 7 times, and your leprosy will leave you. And that's the background to what we hear in today's first reading, that this high-ranking man who's afflicted by this particular disease would have to humble himself enough to go before the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, maybe not even the God that he believed in, but the one who could heal him, and to ask for that help, to cry out to him, to say, Lord, you could heal me, and I'll even humble myself enough to ask for that. But in our lives, no matter what that is, whatever the leprosy is in our lives, maybe it's not the leprosy of the skin, maybe it's the leprosy of our hearts or our minds, maybe it's a certain thing that we struggle with over and over again. And I think when we're high-ranking folks, a priest, whatever, we could have this pride in us that says, I can fix this. I can find a cure. I can find an answer. I don't need God to help me with this. But the invitation today is an invitation to humility, an invitation to lower ourselves and to seek out this King of the universe who can and wants to restore us, who can and wants to wash us of our own leprosies in our lives and to free us so that we could go and to be his servant, to return with thankful hearts. I know it must have been so hard for those lepers in the gospel today to be relegated. I think our sin so oftentimes ghettoizes us. We start to isolate from a community because we feel like our disease will break us from the people around us. In a very physical way, that's what leprosy did in the communities of that time. They had to live far away, and they couldn't even approach Jesus. It said, remember, he called out to them from a distance. And they said to him, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. And they must have been so humiliated by this condition that they had, that they knew that they could never save themselves or fix what they had, but they had to humble themselves and cry out for help to this guy who was passing by on the road, who they heard could help him. And he did. He goes and tells them, go see the priests, and all of them are cleansed of their leprosy. But only one of them returns, giving thanksgiving to God and falling at his feet and thanking him. So no matter what the struggle is in our life, no matter what that leprosy is, I think there's a twofold movement in the Christian life that can respond to whatever leprosy we're dealing with. Maybe it's a repeated sin. Maybe it's a struggle in our families, whatever that is. And I think those two movements are always humility and thanksgiving. Humbling ourselves enough to say that I can't conquer this on my own. I can't fix this. I can't be for myself God. And the second is to recognize when God comes in and starts to take over our lives and to cure us and to heal us and to wash us clean, that we would return to him with grateful hearts, hearts of thanksgiving, hearts of praising him for the goodness that he's done in our lives. And I think that this becomes our story. This becomes our witness. This becomes what we're able to share with other people. Look how the Lord has cleansed me of the leprosy of my own life. But I know there are certain things in my own life that continue to persist, and they're really things that keep me humble. There's certain sins in my life that the Lord has not taken away, no matter how much I've cried out and begged him to. Because if he does take them away, it's just a matter of weeks until my ego and my pride inflates, and I'm back right at them again. They keep me humble. They keep me crying out for mercy to him, and they keep me knowing that I can't fix myself and I can't solve myself, even as a priest. So today we come before the Lord in this Mass, which is the prayer of thanksgiving, to acknowledge first our need for him to come in and to heal us, to cleanse us, to give us new life, but also to thank him for this great gift of his Son who responds to these many needs of our lives.